Hello to all the parents and students of the class of 2024. My name is Amanda Shaw, and I am one of the school counselors for Conant High School and Jaffrey Ridge Middle School. I am recording this for you remotely via Zoom, so I'm going to ask that you bear with me through this presentation as I am somewhat new to Zoom, as I'm sure a lot of you are, since we're all just getting used to the different technology that we've had to use during this time. This presentation is something that we try to do normally at a parent night, and we had planned to do it for you back in March, but of course, given the situation that we're in with the pandemic, we're not able to do so, but did want to make sure that you had information as your students are going to be picking their ninth grade course selections starting next week. So again, I ask you to bear with me. During this presentation, I'm going to be going over some information from the program of studies, some information about the courses that your students are going to be taking, graduation requirements, and information about other opportunities that your students can take advantage of during their high school careers. So as I said, my name is Amanda Shaw. I am one of the counselors at Conant High School and also Jaffrey Ridge Middle School. Diana Fontaine is another school counselor who does have high school students as well as middle school students. Melissa Jarest, if you have any students in the 6th grade or any students who will be coming up to the 6th grade, Melissa Jarest, she is the 6th grade school counselor. And then I do want to highlight Karen Estes, our amazing registrar extraordinaire and administrative assistant. Her job is to do anything really with record keeping, so transcripts, registrations, report cards. She also keeps our office going. And if you've ever called our office, you have probably spoken to her at least once. And on behalf of myself and the entire counseling center staff, I do want to let you all know that we understand how challenging this time is for everyone. And we want you to know that we still want to make sure that we're supporting your families and your students just as much as we would if we were in the regular school building. So please do not hesitate to reach out to us with any questions, concerns that you might have during this time. Okay, so first I want to start with the program of studies. So the program of studies is a document that contains mostly all academic information and policies, as opposed to the student and parent handbook, which is a document that contains, if you're looking for any disciplinary information about attendance policies, things of that nature, that's going to be found in the student parent handbook. Whereas the program of studies is going to contain all of the policies and procedures that happen mostly in our office, and also lists all of the courses that we offer at Conant High School. First, I want to highlight some sections of the program that I really want to make sure that you're aware of. The alternative learning section, which starts on page 4, an alternative learning opportunity is an opportunity that students can take advantage of in certain situations where they can earn credit outside of a normal Conant High School course. So the most popular example of that would be VLACs, which some of you might know of. VLAC stands for Virtual Learning Academy Charter School, and it is a public charter school in the state of New Hampshire. And our students can take advantage of some of their courses in certain situations. For example, if there's a course that VLACs offers that we don't, that a student is interested in taking, they can take advantage of that. And again, all of that information and the process for that or any other alternative learning opportunity would be in the program on page 4. The second thing I want to highlight would be the schedule change process on page 6. And it's really important to highlight this because after the first day of school, a schedule change for any reason must be made in writing, and there is some paperwork that goes with that. So it's very important that if your student needs to make a schedule change, that they do it as soon as possible after they get their schedule. Our goal would be to have the final schedules done by June before students are done with school for the summer. Of course, we have had some setbacks with that. We're hoping to keep on schedule with that. But it's really important that once they do get the schedule, which will be at some point in the summer months, whether it be June or a little later than that, that they do contact their counselor as soon as possible if they need to make any changes. Because once school starts, it's a little bit more difficult to make those changes, and it's not gonna be as easy. The second policy would be grading policies. Of course, it's important to know about all of our grading policies, which are on page 6. Information about how a grade point average is calculated would be housed in that section. Anything about late or missed assessments or retakes would also be housed in that section. So you can take a look at that. Credit recovery, page 11. I really want to point this out because, as most of you know, once students hit high school, it's important that they are earning credit. So in order to graduate, you have to earn a certain amount of credits and meet a certain credit requirement. So if, for example, if a student fails a class, but they get a 50 or above, they fail a class with a 50 or higher, they are eligible for what's called credit recovery. And what that means is they don't necessarily have to repeat the entire course. They meet with their counselor, and we'd identify some certain competencies that they might need to redo, some areas for the class that they may have fell short, instead of just doing the whole class over again. And again, there is a process to being eligible for credit recovery. And there's also some deadlines that are really important to know. For example, you have to apply for credit recovery within 5 days of the first school year. So after that point, a student could not apply to do a credit recovery, and they might end up having to take a class over again. So that's really important to know about. Anything with academic recognitions can be found on page 11. So anything with honor roll and the New Hampshire Scholars Program, which I will talk about a little later in the presentation, that can all be found on page 11. And our future planning process, which starts on page 12. The future planning process is going to have our graduation requirements are going to be listed there. And we also have some suggested pathways laid out. So the suggested pathways are just that. They're suggestions of core courses and different course programs that students should take based on what their post-secondary goals might be. So if a student thinks they might want to attend college after high school, but they're unsure, we do have a basic 4-year college plan mapped out. So a student can look at that and follow that suggested course pathway to be college ready. We also have suggested courses for a student who might want to go into nursing or any sort of trade or technical field. So really important for them to look at that to get an idea of the courses that they should be looking to take within throughout their 4 years of high school. Right, the course selection process. As you know, or hopefully you know, teachers have already put course recommendations for students into Web to School. So your students' current 8th grade teachers have all put their recommendations in so that they're there for students. And when they meet with their counselor, we can go over those. Important to also review the program of studies so that you and your students know what they should be taking and what is offered to them, and to look at those future planning areas, those pathways that I just spoke about on the last slide. And again, we're going to be meeting one-on-one with every student starting next week to discuss the course selections, discuss different pathways they might be interested in. And then there'll be a course verification, which would have been handed directly to a student and physically signed and then handed back to us. However, obviously we cannot do that right now, so that's all going to be done via email. So everything will be done via email and online right now. So these are the courses that most freshmen are going to be taking. So the first 4 that you see, English 9, World History, Physical Science, Algebra 1 or Geometry, those are all required courses. So English 9 is CCP or honors, and CCP stands for College Career Prep. Same with World History, same with Algebra 1 or Geometry. If your student is in Algebra 1 right now, then they're going to be taking Geometry. Physical Science is a bit different. Physical Science has the general level, and then the next level would be the CCP level. while a foreign language is not a graduation requirement, we strongly, strongly encourage students to consider taking a foreign language. We do offer Spanish, French, and Latin. Some of your students may already be taking a level 1 language right now. If they're not, we strongly encourage that they do register for a level 1 language. If they're thinking about maybe going to college, most colleges do want to see at least 2 years of the same language on a student's transcript. 3 is always better, but we always say to shoot for at least 2. And even if they're not planning on going to college, we always say that it's a great skill to have to be able to, speak a different language and have some knowledge of a different language for their resume. Digital literacy is a graduation requirement that we encourage students to take in their freshman year. They also have to have physical education and art requirement. I have these listed here because these are the courses that we suggest students take, the requirements that we like students to take and complete during their freshman year. So I have some examples here of what some of the freshman schedules might look like. And right here, what you're looking at is actually what it looks like on paper when they get a copy of their schedule. So as you see, this student does have some art classes. They also have a PE class and digital literacy. So for this student, at the end of their freshman year, they're going to have a half credit of PE completed, so half the PE requirement. Digital literacy and art is going to be completed, as well as the core courses. And if you're looking here under terms, where it says 1, 2, 3, 4, that is a full year class. If it says 1, 2, that is a first semester class, and if it says 3, 4, that would be a second semester class. So this would be another example of a student who has similar courses, a little different, a couple different levels of courses. And this student is going to have digital literacy and half of their PE requirement completed. They have also taken creative writing, which is going to count for an art credit. So the student as well will have their art requirement, digital literacy, and half of PE done. So that's good. So these are our graduation requirements, and this chart right here was taken directly from the program of studies. So this is what you're going to see in that document. If you see on the right-hand side there, the right-hand column, the New Hampshire Scholars requirements, I'll go over more of that program in the next slide. So to graduate from Conant High School, you do need 4 credits of English, English 9 through 12. You need 3 credits of social studies, which includes world history, which is taken usually freshman year. Then sophomore year, there is no requirement for social studies. However, we encourage students to take a social studies elective. Junior year, they'll take US history, which is required, and then senior year, civics and economics. For US history, we do have a 2-credit course called World Language, Culture, History, Society, and the Individual. And that class, like I said, it's 2 credits. So 1 credit will go towards the world history requirement, and the other credit will be a student's foreign language credit. And they can choose from either French one or Spanish one. So that is an alternative that they can do. As you see next to mathematics, there is an asterisk there, and it says 3 credits. So the reason there's an asterisk there is because while a student has to have 3 credits of actual mathematics courses, including Algebra 1. Algebra 1 is the only math class that is actually required. They do have to have a 4th math experience. What that means is that a student has to have some sort of math experience each year in high school. So if a student, say, completes Algebra 1 their freshman year, Geometry sophomore year, and Algebra 2 their junior year, while they do not necessarily have to take an actual math class their senior year, they do have to have a class their senior year that has some sort of math competencies embedded into it. So for example, the building trades program is a great example of that. Chemistry, if they have not already taken that, they could take that their senior year and that would count. And those classes are outlined in the program of studies. Now we do encourage that students do take math all 4 years, to be college and career ready. But of course, if they choose not to, their senior year, they just have to have something that has math competencies embedded into it. For science, you need 3 credits, including physical science, normally taken freshman year, and then biology for the sophomore year. After that, their third credit can be any science course of their choosing, a science elective. And as I said, there is no graduation requirement for a world language. However, we strongly suggest that students do take a foreign language. And arts education, a student has to have a half credit at least of something in the arts education, which does not have to necessarily be a visual arts course. It can be something in music or performing arts. Creative writing counts. We have a class called computer graphics that also counts. And those are listed in the program of studies as well, which is why you see a double asterisk next to arts education. Computer skills, the course digital literacy that I spoke about earlier, a student does have to pass that for graduation. And you need half a credit of health education, which is normally taken in a student's sophomore year, but has to be completed before graduation. Now, physical education, students do need a full credit, and each physical education course is a half credit. So a student would have to take 2 separate physical education courses to meet that requirement. Every student has to take co-ed PE first, the actual co-ed PE class. Then we do have other courses one called team sports and one called personal fitness that a student can choose to take as their second half credit physical education. Now, as some of you might know, if your student is an athlete, they can get athletic participation credit for 1 season of athletics. So 1 season of athletics would be 1 half credit. They can't earn a half credit of physical education for every season, but they would earn just their 1 half credit to go towards their full credit of their physical education requirements. So they have to take co-ed PE, and then they would get their other half credit from doing a sport. And then as you see, there's 7.5 electives to add up to a total of 23 credits required to graduate from Conan High School. Now, what is an elective? So an elective, a better way of putting it would be open electives. So it's basically any other course that a student chooses to take. If they want to take more art classes, great. We encourage them to take more art classes. If they want to take more on the sciences or any more mathematics courses, they can choose to do so. And that's why we encourage students to get a lot of their requirements out of the way, so that they get digital literacy done if they want to take more art classes, or they get their art requirement done because they want to take more computer classes. Whatever it might be, we encourage students to do their requirements so that way they can have more freedom and take the things that they want to learn about and things that they enjoy. So the New Hampshire Scholars Program. New Hampshire Scholars is a program that was developed and sponsored by the New Hampshire College and University Council and the New Hampshire Department of Education. And what this does is encourages students to pursue a more challenging core course of study so that they are ready for college and career. So whether they are going on to a 2 or 4 year college, whether they're going to enter the military or the trades or any other workforce, this program is encouraging them to challenge themselves a little bit, go a little bit further than what's just required of them so that they are better prepared for life after high school. So as you see, a lot of these requirements are pretty close to what our graduation requirements are. 4 credits of English, of course. They do want students to have 4 years of actual math. So Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Geometry, and then 1 other math class. I think on the last slide, actually, if I go back, you see that here for New Hampshire Scholars, it lists 4. And then for the New Hampshire Scholars requirement, it lists 3. That is because physical science does not count towards the New Hampshire Scholar Science requirement. So graduating from Conan High School and being a New Hampshire Scholar, you would need 4 actual science credits. For the New Hampshire Scholars Program, they want you to have biology and then 2 other lab sciences, not including physical science. 3.5 credits of social studies, which is why we encourage students to take a social studies class their sophomore year, even though it's not required. And then at least 2 years of the same language. And then we do require students to have a GPA of an 80 or higher. Now, if a student is interested in going into a STEM field, so a science, technology, engineering, or math career, there is a pathway for that they would get recognized for as part of the New Hampshire Scholars Program. It just requires them to take an extra credit in something in the STEM field. And the same thing goes for arts. If a student is interested in an arts pathway, they would have to take 2 credits. So if there's someone who is involved in choir or band or the visual arts, they could be designated as a New Hampshire Scholars artist. Okay, so we do have some new courses for the new year, and I realize that that says 2019 and 2020. It should say 2020 and 2021, so just a mistake, but these are new courses for next year. We are going to be having pre-algebra starting next year, so which is designed so that learners are ready for the study of algebra. So since algebra is a required math course, we want to make sure that students are ready for that and can be successful in that. So if math is something that your student is a little bit shaky on, unsure that they're ready for pre-algebra, you might want to consider, or ready for algebra, you might want to consider that they enroll in pre-algebra. And you can certainly talk to their current math teacher or their case manager or their counselor about that. We have a new elective, science elective, which is Earth and Space Science. Students are still required to do physical science, but they can take Earth and Space Science as an elective. Miss Martin, our FACS teacher, has created a course called Alternative Eats and the Green Chef. And this course is going to be a sequel to our Intro to Cooking class. So if your student is someone who enjoyed Intro to Cooking or enjoys cooking, maybe wants to go into the culinary field, this course is going to do some advanced cooking. And she's going to be teaching students how to cook for more dietary needs. So maybe some gluten-free recipes or some vegan recipes, things like that. Our health class has changed its name from Healthy Life Choices to Health Education, so just want people to be aware of that. And this next course we're really excited about. It's called Career Information Exploration, and it is going to be taught by our ELO, which stands for Extended Learning Opportunity Coordinator, Dana Jackson. And the next slide is about that. So with this course called Career Information Exploration, Ms. Jackson is going to be taking parts of the ELO experience and turning it into a full-on course to do some career exploration by identifying some different personal skills and interests, so for some possible career choices for students to explore for after high school. She's going to be taking her students on a lot of field trips, industry field trips, introducing them to different employers and industry people in our region and around the state, different career and technical education tours, and different industry exploration days. So this is really exciting, and I'm excited for a lot of students to take advantage of this. Important to know that this class is for students in the 10th through 12th grade. So as freshmen, they wouldn't be able to take advantage of it. However, something that we did want you to be aware of to look for as your students progress through high school. And as far as the ELO program, this slide is in regards to that. So an ELO, an extended learning opportunity, is a credit-bearing experience that takes place outside of your normal traditional classroom day. So they get to earn credit for different experiences, and the credit can range anywhere from a quarter credit to a full credit, depending on the time that a student puts into it. It is very independent, so a student has to have a lot of independent skills to complete an ELO project, because it's something that they're doing a lot on their own time, and they're kind of they're directing themselves on this, and they're directing their own learning, and they have to have a lot of good follow through. But it can be a really great experience. As you see, we have some pictures of students who have completed ELOs. We had a student who did one with the Rindge Police Department, which she really enjoyed because she's interested in going into the public safety field. We've had students do ELOs in culinary and marine biology. Students can do them in education if they're interested in doing that. And there's 3 different types of ELOs. You can do something that's more project-based learning. You can do career exploration and service aid. Service aid meaning that you could do something like help a teacher in school to run their classroom and assist them with that. So if you're interested in taking advantage of this, talk to your counselor, or any questions you have, you can email Mrs. Jackson directly at the email that is provided below. Okay, so other things that we have for students to take advantage of, other opportunities, would be part of our CTE program. Now, CTE stands for Career and Technical Education. If you don't know, we do have a partnership with Messinic High School and Conval High School as part of the Region 14 Applied Technology Center, or ATC. So we have 11 different programs that students can take advantage of. So the Building Trades program is offered at Conan High School. Then we have the Automotive program, which is offered over at Messinic High School. And then the rest of these programs are all offered at Conval High School. Now again, as freshmen, students are not able to take advantage of this, but they can once they get into sophomore year. So again, things that we want you to be aware of, and also reasons why we encourage students to get a lot of their requirements done during their first year or so of high school, so that then they can take advantage of opportunities like these. These are really great classes. Our students learn a lot of hands-on and practical skills that they can take with them after they leave high school. I want to point out these 2 pictures. This is our Building Trades program here on the right. Some students from past building trades classes. And then here on the left, there is an LNA class, which is not technically part of the ATC. So it's not technically an Applied Technology Center program. However, our students can take advantage of it. It is done at Conval High School, and it's through the Red Cross. So students can take advantage of that once they enter their junior year. Okay, so that would be the end of our presentation. Any questions? I mean, normally at a presentation like this, people would be able to ask questions from the audience, but we can't do that right now. So the way that we're going to be doing questions is you can either email them directly to me in relation to this presentation or course selection or freshman year in general. Email them directly to me with the subject line, parent presentation question. I'm going to be taking these questions until Monday, this coming Monday, the 13th at noontime. And what I will do at that point is I'm not going to be responding to each and every question individually, but I'm going to take all of the questions and compile them into a frequently asked questions document, a list that I will then share with everyone. Because I'm sure a lot of you are going to be having the same or similar questions. So this is just an easier way to answer everyone's questions. If you have a specific question to your specific student, I'm going to ask that you direct that question to their counselor. So if that's me, that's fine. You can email it to me. If that's Mrs. Fontaine, please email it to her. But again, anything in relation to this presentation specifically, or in general, freshman year questions, you can certainly ask them. Make sure you put this title here in the subject line. I want to thank you for listening to this presentation. And once again, we hope that you're all doing well during this time. And please reach out to us with any questions related to course selection in freshman year, or just any questions in general with remote learning, anything like that that might be going on. I hope you all have a great weekend.